Now, don't adjust your dial or anything like that because the beginning part of this show might seem like shows we did in the past. Why? Because the same thing keep happening over and over and over again. To no surprise to anyone, the second cop was acquitted in the Freddie Gray trial. So I'm going to have Miss Baba start us off on that.
All right. Yeah, it was actually the third officer on trial that was acquitted in this case, but it's crazy. So just as a quick recap on an update of the Freddie Gray case, it was the third officer, Cesar Goodson Jr. He's a 25-year-old. He was just acquitted, which means that he was found not guilty of all counts. Now, the crazy thing is that he was the one who was facing the most severe charges. He had like six charges put against him. The first being second-degree murder. Then there was second-degree depraved heart murder, and I'll get into that in a little bit. He was also charged with manslaughter, second-degree assault, reckless endangerment, and then misconduct in office. And let me just give you guys a little rundown on what exactly depraved heart murder is. Depraved heart is simple to understand, but it's hard to explain. Depraved heart, depraved for one, it just means very evil. If you say depraved heart murder, it just means that you have somehow, some way, you showed a depraved indifference. So you knew that someone was in risk, and you consciously decided to disregard them. And that would have been his most severe charge. And if he was to be found guilty of that, he would have served up to 30 years in prison. But of course, he was found not guilty on all 6 of these charges. I know that in the first case with Officer William Porter, there was one. His trial was on it was a jury trial. Officer Edward Nero, he actually got a bench trial, and the same judge that found him not guilty also was the same judge that found this most recent case, Cesar Goodson, not guilty as well. I believe that this type of outcome is really crazy. It doesn't surprise me, but it's crazy because it just proves that time and time and again that law enforcement officers are infallible. They have, they're supposed to protect and serve and make sure that we civilians adhere to the laws. But meanwhile, they get some sort of special pass to say, okay, I'm not supposed to be held to these same standards. And that is very, very dangerous. Now, we've seen, as Brother Sue said in the beginning of the show, don't adjust your dial because this is not, it sounds like the same show that we've been doing because there's always the same circumstances. The only difference is a different face and a different name, but it's crazy because it continues to happen, and as long as they're not held, these officers aren't held accountable of their actions, it's going to continue to do so. So they're setting a very, very, very dangerous precedent as they do this. Remember, everyone was going crazy over Marilyn Mosley for even charging them in the first place. So my question to you is, Sewell, what do you think will come with the other 3 officers who have yet to go on trial?
Well, this any indication, nothing really. Maybe they convict them
Right.
of some lesser charges, but that's about it. The first trial was a hung jury. The other 2 was cleared of all charges. So that's what I'm expecting. Even right now, they trying to put pressure on the prosecution to drop the rest of the charges on the remaining officers, completely drop them.
Right.
That's what you're hearing for a lot of mainstream media sources right now. And from the start, they tried to make this narrative that it was overcharging a police officer. So right now, what we got right now in this judicial system, it's almost impossible to convict a cop. Almost impossible. It doesn't matter if they on camera. It doesn't matter if there's witnesses. It doesn't matter if a suspect that's unarmed, and they unarmed, end up dead in your custody. Now, one of the things this judge said, And this judge is making me upset. It's a black judge on top of that. And like I said before, just
Right.
because you have somebody
Which is
black,
worse. Right.
right? Just because you have somebody black doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be on your side. So you got to vet that. Don't ever just vote on anybody because they black or give them your support just because they black. They got to show and prove. And we're not saying the judge should automatically rule on their side. However, there's a number of different evidence that people's not taking into consideration. The judge trying to say that they gave Freddie Gray proper medical attention. How when he ended up with a broken neck? When they realized he was hurt, they gave him medical attention. No, they didn't, because we got this on camera of when he actually got arrested. He couldn't even walk when he got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
You see them, they was dragging him to the van when he got arrested. And it's documented that the driver made at least 6 stops. So what they got is that's like that old phrase, who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? And they saying, believe us, get what your eyes is telling you. We know best. And it's not going to work anymore. They cannot pull that wool over our eyes anymore. And CNN is trying to do it. CNN have really went downhill. Like, CNN is like Fox News Light right now. And even MSNBC is moving to the right. That's why we need outlets like this to tell you in full force what is really going on here. And what is really going on here is it doesn't matter what police do. They almost never going to get convicted unless they mess with somebody powerful. That's about the only time. Because this just came out today, too. You remember Officer Eric Caseboat, the officer in Texas, in McKinley, Texas, that was went to that pool party and was manhandling little girl?
Yeah,
the grand jury. Yeah. The grand jury cleared him of all charges as well. He's not even going to trial. He's not even going to trial. On video, it was obviously he used excessive force. But hey, I guess we take our wins. At least he got fired. But again, no charges on him. So it's almost no consequences on any of these cops. Daryl Wilson, the one that killed Michael Brown, he ended up getting a crowdfunding going for him. They raised over $1 million. So it's really no incentives to reel in these cops. None at all.
Right.
And, yeah, right. So then we have other laws coming down the pipe, too, which make this even worse. We really got to get a game plan going on how to counteract what they're doing right now.
Right, that's crazy. And before we go on to the next topic, I just wanted to touch base on a couple things real quick. Now, you know, during this whole thing, as Brother Sue said, it was crazy because we've all witnessed and watched the videos of the officers even when they were arresting Freddie Gray. And there was something wrong with him even then, right? So at that point, he was definitely injured in some way. He looked very injured in some way. And then they threw him in the back of the van and handcuffed him. So he was riding on the floor where there's steel beams on the floor. So that means that he was not sitting up. He was not in a secured situation. He wasn't, strapped in any way. There was no seatbelt on him. He was laying on the back of the van floor. Now, there was an undisclosed location that they stopped to, and they did not check in, which is against protocols. Every stop that you make, you're supposed to call it in. They didn't call that stop in, number one. Number two, they didn't offer Caesar Goodson, this officer that was just acquitted. He got out of the van and went to the back to go check on Freddie Gray. He opens it. He looked at him. Supposedly, he looked at him, but he didn't look at his face. There's certain parts of him that he saw and certain parts he didn't. I guess he has selective seeing. I don't know. But then at that point, he did not try to give medical attention to him. And you know what their argument is? Their argument is that Freddie Gray was combative. So that means that if you have someone in custody and they're combative in any type of way, then their safety can be deemed negligible. Like, you can neglect their safety. Like, that was really a lot of the premise of this case. So, and I think that's just like it's so crazy. And it's true that, on past shows, I've even mentioned that situations like this where police officers kill unarmed black men, it is considered modern day lynching, and I don't take that very lightly, and I'm not. I hope people understand how important and how serious this matter is, because if you're committing all these things, all these murders, let's call it what it is, and nothing is happening to you, that's crazy. Like, I just heard some crazy astronomical numbers the other day. Brother Sue, you sent me a link to watch, and I was just like, wow. It's crazy. Let me break it down like this. So, in the past 10 years, right, there's been about 10,000 police officers who have committed murder, who have killed people. Of those 10,000 cases, only 54 of them were ever brought to trial. And of those 54, only 4 officers have been found guilty of anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. That right there, it blew my mind. And it's crazy. It's really disgusting, and I don't even know. I can't even. I'm done.
Right. I want to touch on one of the points you made about Freddie Gray being combative. Now, there was all those officers at the scene. What, 6 officers? You mean to tell me they couldn't subdue a man that was already clearly injured? They couldn't subdue him while he was in handcuffs? Get that all the way the fuck out of here. All the way the fuck out of here.
Word.
Like, some of this stuff is just common sense. And I don't, like, you know what, they try to use all this legal jargon, this is fuck all that. Bottom line is the system is not working for people like us. It is not, don't spare me any of that. I don't want to hear none of that. The system is not working for people like us. It doesn't matter if it's on tape, and it would be one thing if this was an isolated incident. If this was an isolated incident, you could say, okay, maybe the prosecution didn't do a good job, maybe they didn't provide enough evidence, but no, this is a continuing trend. Eric Gardner, death was caught on tape. Used a chokehold, which he wasn't supposed to do. The man ended up dying. Again, not even a trial. The Michael Brown case, Darrell Wilson, not even a trial. You mean to tell me, was there enough evidence even just to go to trial? And not even a cop. Zimmerman, not even a cop. We had to do like serious uprising to even get him arrested in the first place. So basically what they're saying is, if you black, if you get murdered, you know, basically we don't care too much. We don't care. And I'm sick of people mentioning, okay, well, what about Chicago? Like, don't mention that either. It's a real difference, because if somebody, quote unquote, in Chicago is caught on camera killing somebody else, if they're a young black teen, you best believe they going to jail. You best believe they going to get a trial. So it's apple and oranges right there. It's not even comparable. And then if we're going to talk about that, we could talk about all the factors that lead to urban decay, to ghettos being formed. We could go all the way there, but I'm sure you don't want to go there. You know, so so I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Right, I hear you. I'm gonna get off that one too. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, we still have the 3 officers that will be going on trial soon. So, if they do at all, because everyone is looking to try to get all those charges dropped all together. But we'll continue to keep y'all posted on that. And in the meantime, you want to go ahead? Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I'm not expecting anything significant to happen, even if they do have the trial, because this judge seems like it's going to have to be like that old Dave Chappelle skit for him to convict any of those officers. Remember that Dave Chappelle skit where he was like, okay, what would it take for you to say that R. Kelly was guilty? All right, he had to be peeing on the girl with his grandmother, with my grandmother there, and on tape, blah blah. It was all these ridiculous things that Dave Chappelle said that for him to say that R. Kelly was guilty. It seemed like this judge is using that burden of proof for these police cases. So I'm not expecting anything to come of it. And this last case was probably the best case they had because he was actually the driver. So not expecting too much more. All right. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, me too. Crazy.
All
Just
right.
pure craziness. So.
All right. Do you want me to introduce the next topic, or you want to do it?
You can.
Okay. I figured because it was a long pause right there. You was like, okay, are you going to do? I was like, I was trying to tell you that alley-oop, but.
But I ain't catch it.
Nah. It was just pure silence. It was dead. I was like, oh, okay. I guess you want me to do the next topic.
I was like LeBron. Look, I was like LeBron in the 7th game. I was just throwing the ball away.
Try and make a basketball reference. It would have been better if you said Steph Curry, though. Just,
okay, I meant Steph Curry.
All right.
Same difference. I don't know.
Same difference. Okay. We working with you. We gonna get you there eventually. We gonna get you there eventually. Okay. Now, staying on the same theme of law enforcement, we mentioned the Freddie Gray officers being acquitted. We mentioned Eric Caseboat, the officer from McKinley, Texas, that was manhandling that little girl at the pool party. Didn't even get indicted. Now, the Supreme Court decided on 2 issues this week, very important issues, and this goes what we've been saying for a long time, that we don't pay enough attention to judges. We've been on this theme for over a year now, for actually since we first started Always for Black. We've been trying to stress how important judges are. So let's get straight into it. Now, the Supreme Court have ruled that you can now use evidence collected during illegal searches if the individual have a warrant out. Now, this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment is proper search and seizure. This is a clear violation of that law, and the lower courts actually decided it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment, but the Supreme Court decided it wasn't. Now, this is clearly going to affect black people, even though this case wasn't with a black individual. It was an individual in Utah that the police illegally searched, and while they searched him, they found out he had methamphetamines on him. But my concern is, and I think with the dissenting opinion of Justice Sotomayor, she actually put it perfectly, that this is going to affect black and brown people, as she says, more. This basically will lead to like a nationwide stop and frisk almost. This is what this could lead to, and it's very dangerous. But I'll get your opinions on it.
Yeah, this is crazy because, there was a ruling of 5-3 actually, and this just happened on Monday, and it all stemmed from the case of Utah versus Strife. Now, Strife is an individual who just so happens to be the lucky person walking out of a house that was deemed to be suspicious. They got an anonymous tip that there was some sort of drug activity happening in this particular house. So the cops were casing the house, and they were watching it real closely. One day, it was Strife who exited the home and went. I think he was on his way to the store or something like that. The local bodega or whatever. Well, I don't know what exactly if Utah has bodegas, but if they did, that's what
it might be a corner store. They wouldn't call it a bodega there. I assure you that.
Right. It would be like a convenience store, I guess. That's what they would say. But in any event, so he was walking to the store, and I guess the cop said, this is my prime opportunity to go ahead and stop him. So, number one, he stopped him. Then he ID'd him, and then he searched him. And as Brother Sewell said, he found some drugs on him. Now, the way that the Fourth Amendment was set up previously, prior to Monday's ruling, was that if you were stopped illegally, then any information or evidence that was found would be null and void because it will be inadmissible in court. But we have already known that it all depends on who you are, because there's a lot of times where things, where the initial interaction was illegal, but evidence that was found during that time was indeed used, especially within the black community. But now it's crazy because now they've made it legal to use that information. So it's no holds bar. And, you know, our favorite Justice Clarence Thomas, he was all against, he was all for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go on your rant for Clarence Thomas, man.
I'm not even going to go on the rant. I just want to tell the people what this dumbass was saying. He was saying that, it's okay because if the officers are in the wrong, you can just sue them. That's basically what he said. And that's assuming that people will win the suit. Because if you make it legal, what makes you think they can win in a civil suit?
Well,
but go ahead. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's crazy because, let me tell you. So he said he called this instance of the illegal stop in the first place, he said it was a good faith mistake and it was an isolated instance of negligence. That's what he called it. And then it was Justice Sotomayor who came back with a strong argument and was saying that it's going to disproportionately affect people of color, and it's ultimately going to be those people of color who are victims of this type of scrutiny, and that's 100% correct. So it's crazy. I think this is just a very sad ruling, and it just means that our rights have been taken away from us, even though they weren't even in practice already. But at least we have the law to try to stand by. We have something, even though I don't really give too much. I don't give too much importance or put too much faith in our criminal justice system, and it's for reasons just like this. But now it's actually legal to use that information, so it's bad.
Right, and this just shows you the importance of judges. Now, you read what Clarence Thomas said, and then you read what Justice Sotomayor said. You could tell the clear difference. Sotomayor just, that was like ether. I advise y'all to go to the Supreme Court website and actually read the case and actually read the sentencing opinion from Justice Sotomayor. This is why it's important to have people that kind of understand what we're going through on there. Now, Sotomayor, obviously, she's not black. She's Puerto Rican. But she's
from the Bronx.
Yeah, she's from the Bronx. She's from the hood. She's from the hood, too, you know. And she actually understands some of these issues. So you don't actually necessarily, I guess, have to be black as long as you understand what's going through, what the situation is. And that's okay. Her dissenting opinion was like ether. Like, I wanted to put the ether beat behind it because she just brought up so many good points. She mentioned how the majority opinion, this is the point, when they called for the warrant check as negligible, Burton, is that she was just like, she said that they failed to mention that they stopped them for no reason in the first place. That's the main thing. She points that out. She points that out specifically, that they stopped them for no reason. And basically, they just said stop and frisk was unconstitutional. Well, it's back now, and it's back nationwide. It's not just going to be in New York City. It's going to be everywhere because of this ruling. So, I mean, it just goes to the point we was making earlier, that police officers right now can basically do whatever they want to. And again, they keep trying to push these laws where it make it illegal to actually film them doing activities too. So they even trying to get that thrown out. But, you know, it's good that we can film them, but at the same time, it seemed like the judicial system don't want to do anything with the footage. So we have to have a long-term strategy. We have to, like, some of us going to have to get involved ourselves with organizations, getting the economic base so we can actually fund people to actually have our back in these type of situations. Because right now, currently black people have no representation on the Supreme Court. Justice Sotomayor is pretty good, but our one lone black Supreme Court member, Clarence Thomas, is the ultimate coon. He got a lifetime achievement award of being a coon. So, so we really have no representation on there. Hopefully, the next Supreme Court justice to get appointed, because there's an opening right now. We need to put pressure on them to have somebody black fill that position where they can forcefully argue our position. And that's not to basically take anything away from Justice Sotomayor, because she did an excellent job in the dissent. But just want to leave it there.
She needs more people to stand along with her.
Exactly.
That's what it is. Because the vote was remember, the vote was 5-3. So if we had 1-2 more people in there, you know, and it's crazy because I know we've emphasized this in the past, but it doesn't hurt to bring it up again, because these people who sit as Supreme Court justices, they hold that position for a lifetime.
Exactly.
You know, so it's not like, oh, okay, well, they're only in there for a few amount of years and then they're done. No, they're in there for a very long lifetime, and I think that's very detrimental to our process. And
absolutely.
You know, the Supreme Court has been busy. I don't know if you wanted to, if it's okay for me to move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, the Supreme Court has been busy. One bit of good news is that the affirmative action, well, I don't know if it's good news to you or not, but affirmative action has been upheld. The Supreme Court did rule in a vote 4-3, and this is particularly pertaining to Texas. So this is not nationwide, but in Texas, there was a case with Fisher versus the University of Texas. Now, we spoke about this in the past also, but now it's been there's a ruling that came out. Abigail Fisher, she was a student who was denied acceptance into the University of Texas. Now, the way that they have the state schools acceptance policy in that state is, or in Texas, I should say, they have a Texas top 10%. And what that means is that the top 10% of high school students would be accepted into the Texas state schools, regardless of anything, not taking into consideration anything else. So if you do if you're a really great student, you get like really high scores on your your GPA is super high, you get really great on your SATs, ACTs, or what have you, the top 10% of those students will automatically be accepted into the state schools. Now, there is a thing in there that states that 25% of those they accept are looked at for their GPA, extracurricular activities, and they do take race into consideration as well. And that's where the affirmative action comes into play. And Abigail Fisher, since she was denied acceptance, she was not accepted to the University of Texas. She didn't say, oh, my grades weren't good enough, or I wasn't in the top 10%, so that sucks. She said that another black person that was undeserving of that position had taken her place. So that was her argument in court. Now, my question to you is, because even though people may be within the conscious black community and understand our plight, there's still some mixed feelings about affirmative action. So I want to ask you, Sue, in your opinion, what do you think about affirmative action itself? Do you think that it's good or bad? Do you think it helps or hinders us? Do you think it carries a negative stigma?
No, I don't. I don't at all. In my opinion, it doesn't go nearly far enough, in my opinion. Affirmative action should have been something that was specifically to help black people. Now, what they did is they threw in the minority term. So you have a lot of white women. It's funny because this Fisher character is a white woman. Affirmative action helps white women a lot. It helps white women a lot. And it's funny because a lot of white women don't even realize it helps them. Now, I understand what you're saying, because I think one of the videos we watched, It was the Young Turks video, matter of fact, and I like the Young Turks. And I guess Jank's argument is that, he feels like affirmative action have stigmatized successful black people, and they say, okay, the only reason you're successful is because of affirmative action, and they downplay black people and they don't give them enough credit. I say, who gives a flying fuck? I care less about what other groups say, how I got a position. I don't care as long as I got the position, because black people got to jump through a lot of hurdles to get to the top positions. You remember the study that came out? If you have a black-sounding name, you don't get called back as often. Like, they did a study where they had a black application with a black-sounding name and an application with a general name or a white-sounding name. They always call back the person with the white-sounding name. So that lets you know that institution. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say in that study they did, it was be mindful that it was the same exact resume that they used. Nothing at all was different. All
and
the
I believe,
education, all the work experience, everything was the same. The only difference was the names on the top.
Right. And this is after Obama was in office. This wasn't a study done in like 1967 or something. This study was done, I believe it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. But it was
somewhere
after.
Around there.
Right. So this is a real issue. Institutionalized racism is real. So if they try to say, oh, a black person got the position only because of affirmative action, what I would say is they probably got the position. If they got the position because of affirmative action, it need to be more black people there, because there's a lot of qualified black people that don't get called back for jobs. And what affirmative action do is fill a quota. So you can say, oh, okay, I do have this one black person here, or I have this one minority. Sometimes don't even have to be a black person there. As long as if it's a minority, period, they fill that quota. So it doesn't help black people as much as you might think. And also, let's talk specifically about schools. Now, the majority of black schools are underfunded right now, especially black public schools. I went to a grammar school where we couldn't take books out of the classroom, where we just had a class set of books. Teachers wasn't that good, just a bad learning environment. Now, if I have, let's do high school grades. Let's say if I have an 86 average in a school like that, and compared to somebody that went to a highly funded suburban school or a highly funded private school, and they have a 93 average. Now, that 93 average, of course, is higher than the 86, but to me, it might be more impressive depending on the school if you have that 86 average, considering the circumstances you had to go through. You know what I'm saying? So that's what affirmative action is for. It's not actually like they letting in people that's less smart. They letting in people that had to go through certain amount of circumstances, because black people are discriminated against heavily. Now, it's an argument that maybe well-to-do black people shouldn't benefit from affirmative action. I heard President Obama say this. He says that his daughters shouldn't be a product of affirmative action because they have all the opportunities in life. Maybe that's true for his specific daughters because they have the last name Obama. But even if they was rich and they, let's say their last name was Smith and they wasn't famous, but they had all the money and all the advantages, they still might need affirmative action because they still might not get that position they need, the top level position that they need, because black people and what I'm going to say this too. Like top 500 companies, they have a lack of females too as CEOs. So discrimination is rampant. So affirmative action is needed. It doesn't go far enough. That's why I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that want to push for reparations. Some specifically for black people where you can see the results. What that reparations will look like, I don't know. Could it be educational? I could live with that. Could it be business grants where you don't have to pay back the loans if you start a business, if you present a concrete, solid business plan? I could rock with that too. It doesn't just have to be cash given out. I'm down with cash getting out too. But as long as it's some type of reparation form, because affirmative action have not went far enough and never did.
Right, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And as it pertains to reparations, I do believe that we are overdue. There are, a lot of us who do agree that we are very much overdue because we're one of the only groups who have never received anything for the years of free labor that we've offered to this country. Not offered, but we had to go through. We were oppressed and went through. And then even after slavery, we still had Jim Crow. We still have all these things that happen today that negatively affects us. But no one wants to. It just seems like a lot of people are so against this idea of us receiving some sort of reparations for it. But if you look at every other group, they have. So I'm not quite sure, what type of argument they can really make to say, oh, we don't deserve it. Or, back in the day, I used to think, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't get money. But why not? Regardless of what we do with the money, you can't get mad at what you think someone will do with the money. It's a point of that you've wronged a group of people, and now you're doing something to try to make it right. So, yeah, that's that. I'll get into Scalia also. Yeah, he's as you know, he's no longer on this earth, but he left this crazy argument during this case right before he passed, and it was crazy. He tried to say that affirmative action wasn't good because it allowed less advanced people to be accepted into the school, and they're on a slower track, so they need to just go to a slower track school.
Yeah, that
man right there, it's horrible. It's really horrible.
Yeah, definitely. And I give this example. When I was going to school, I didn't have SAT prep classes. Did you? When you went to high school? The high school you went to?
Yes, but that was only because I went to school out in the middle of nowhere in a very predominantly Caucasian area.
Right. Oh, I forgot you was next to cornfields and shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. But if you stayed in the Bronx, you might have been in the same situation that I was in. Like our SAT prep was taken. We took 2 practice SAT tests. One my junior year, one to begin the senior year. But we had no classes. Now, I had a friend that went to a suburban school, and I had no idea. They actually had SAT prep classes for them. So, just full classes. They're almost their entire junior year and part of their senior year. So, how is somebody that went to a school like I went to, where we had no SAT prep classes, going to have as higher score as somebody that went to a school where they had SAT prep classes? So, this is the point that I'm saying. It's not on an even scale. So, this is why affirmative action is important, because you have really smart people that go to these type of schools and get decent grades, because the University of Texas is not letting in anybody under affirmative action that have not done well in school. And what they might be looking at is their specific circumstance and saying, okay, what they had to go to is as impressive as somebody that went to this school that didn't have to go through these other types of hurdles. So I just wanted to say that.
Right, and I think it's funny because during the little clip that we watched from the Young Turks, they were even stating, they made a valid point that if you did take away affirmative action and didn't have these things in place, a lot of these universities will be filled with Asians.
Right.
So, and that's the
thing
bad about them is just,
Right. I want to speak on Asians too, because Japanese people got reparations as well. What happened? And they deserve it too. I'm not hating on that, because locking them in entrapment camps and internment camps during World War II was wrong. It definitely was. But it doesn't compare to, the transatlantic slave trade and Jim Crow era, everything we went to, the lynchings. But they didn't get reparations right away. what they did is they got a strong economic base, and they was able to talk through their economics. You know, that's how you gain power. That's definitely how you gain power. Even Japan right now, even though we have bases in Japan, and Japan for a while was like looked like almost damn near a colony of the U.S. after World War II. They got their economics up, and now they a powerful country, and they can disagree with the United States and everything now because they have a powerful economy. Like when you're able to speak through your dollars, it makes a lot of difference. It's not the only thing. It's definitely not the only thing. I don't want to tell people that because we saw with like neighborhoods like Black Wall Street, they had a strong economic base and was completely destroyed. However, if we have a bunch of different Black Wall Streets, it's not going to be as easily destroyed. You know, so that's one thing to think about. Get our economics up so we can fund politicians that will have our back and do our bidding. So that's what I want to do right there. And it's a long-term strategy. I know it's not a short answer or just something we could do right away in a quick fix, but a lot of detailed problems is not a quick fix. It's going to take years to reverse some of the issues we have. But we get started now, the quicker it will become reality.
Right. I'm just thinking about it. Imagine a community of our own where the black dollar circulates 17 times before it even leaves out.
Exactly. That would be amazing.
Crazy.
It would be amazing. And it can happen.
It's been done before, and it's been done again, and it can happen again.
Right.
It can definitely happen again.
I mean, we doing our part as well. Like, we have a lot of stuff that we have coming down the line, and we working to do our part on it. Everybody should do their part. You know, you don't have to do anything that's not your strength, but just a quick mentoring program. Like if you can volunteer at the YMCA, you know, they have programs like 100 Black Men, even Big Brother, Big Sister, where you could mentor somebody. Anything you can do. Doesn't have to be. You don't have to start your own organization, but if you do have the skills to do something like that, you should. But just do your part. That's all we ask. Whatever you can, or even just be an example in your own community. Like if you don't have a block club, maybe start a block club, you know, and take back your streets. Do whatever you can to reverse the situation we have right now, whatever that is, whatever your strength is. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
You have anything else you want to add to this?
Nope. I'm gonna leave it there.
All right. Now.